So the second theory on why aid did not work comes from Jeffrey Sachs. And he says that aid did not work because the amount of aid was too small and we need more aid in order to escape the poverty traps that poor countries have. So basically, he argues that every country should donate, the 7.7% of GDP that they owe, and they should do that for every single year and borrow against the future to give Africa and other parts of the developing world a massive amount of aid over a short period of time. The reasoning for this, can be thought of in many ways, but one of them is that, poor countries may have low savings rates. They might be in a saving trap, which only can be overcome if you pass certain level of capital, and after which you can save a lot. So basically, this is a solo model type of argument. If you have a small aid, the only thing you're going to get at is to have the economy go back to this previous state. So basically, growth becomes negative, which is what we see in the data because of the small amount of aid. But if instead of small amounts, you invest in large amounts of aid, what would happen is that these economies would move to a higher saving schedule. They would move to this part of the savings curve. And if this aid is large enough, then they would be able to converge to a higher steady state in which, they would overcome this savings trap. Another possible trap could be the population trap. Poor countries are stuck with high fertility rates, and only after they become richer, and they pass certain threshold, they would have less constraints in terms of population growth. So again, in this setting, if you give small amounts of aid, like what we've been doing so far, the only thing that would produce would be poor countries going back to where they started, producing negative growth. And if you instead give a large amount of aid, what you would end up doing is you would end up helping them to reach this higher steady state level of capital, or being able to overcome this poverty trap here. Another possible explanation could be that aid is needed in order to overcome some certain fixed costs. For example, to cure malaria and build a legal system that are necessary in order to become more productive. So the kind of model that explains this is, poor countries have a low productivity economy that can only turn into a high productivity economy after they invest in certain costs, cure malaria. And if you give them a large amount of aid, they would actually be able to pay this fixed cost and go into a high productivity economy and become rich and develop. But instead, if you give them just a little bit of aid, that's not going to help you out, and you're going to end up with negative growth. So, same argument, we need large amounts of aid in order to overcome poverty traps. There are several big problems with this theory. Well, first of all, it relies on this assumption that the jump in the savings rates, or even the drop in population growth, has to be really dramatic. And there's really no evidence that supports that is the case. In general, the increases in savings as countries develop are pretty smooth, and there's no reason why we should expect the population growth rate to change as countries become richer. For example, because yes, not only we have a decrease in fertility, which would explain this, but also we have a decrease in mortality and an increase in migration towards richer countries. So, in principle, according to the data, this two effects here offset the decrease in fertility that countries experience as they develop. So there's no that dramatic change that explains such theories. Second problem is that in the presence of technological progress, we would see these poverty traps disappear. So instead of giving aid, if we promoted technological change in these countries, if we promoted the creation of new ideas, we could escape the poverty trap, and converge naturally to a richer steady state and allow them to develop. So what we should be doing instead of doing big chunks of aid is investing in the productivity of these countries. And lastly, if Jeffrey Sachs was right, then we would expect the world income distribution to look kind of bimodal. So we would expect a lot of poor countries and a lot of rich countries and nothing in the middle. But actually, this was only true for the 1970s. This was true in the 1970s before the inflow of aid. But nowadays, the world is actually pretty dense around the middle in terms of income. It is no longer a bimodal world. It is turned into a single mode world. So, this evolution over time of the income distribution of the world defeats Jeffrey Sachs' theory.